Is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Andrea Tantaros, host of The Independence on our sister network, Fox Business Kennedy. And she covers the Supreme Court for us and anchors America's News headquarters, Shannon Bream. And today's hashtag, one outnumbered. That's what you always say.
That's right. That's later in the show, though.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
Yeah, it's big news day.
Here's what we know. The nation of France has raised its security alert to the highest level after this.
Okay, so we've seen this before, Eric, and I really think that if the White House had not handled other instances of radical Islamic terror this way, this wouldn't be such a big deal. But this is their playbook. When it's so obvious it's radical Islamic terror, it's an act of jihad, their knee-jerk response is to just call it an act of violence.
Workplace violence. Fort Hood, Allah Akbar, Nid al-Hassan stood up there, tie to Muslim extremists, right? Is you won't call it Islamic terrorism when it really is. I don't know what the PC crap they're doing here.
People have shied away from this sort of expression, and it's the kind.
I wanted to read this quote. In 2012, President Obama, after the attacks on Benghazi, said this: "The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam." It's similar to the White House's response to the Ferguson attacks, right? Wave your hand at the police, but not the wrongdoer.
So don't think this can't show up here very quickly and very easily. And also, Senator Graham specifically going after the president for issues. They had a rocket launcher. These guys, as you watch the video, were very organized. They were very calm. They stopped to pick something up in the street as they were leaving.
And eyewitnesses said they were speaking unaccented French, which means they were French citizens. They logically.
No, I mean, it's interesting. That is the kind of free speech. You're absolutely right, that we have to protect.
Can we just point out something else too? The Muslim population in France, once this population grew, there are 12 different cities within Britain that breeds this type of extremism. When these people have the ability to say, you know what, we're not going to abide by national law or local law, we're going to abide by our own law, and then they have this extremist faction that grows within. Of course they're going to speak French. Of course they're going to be Muslim extreme.
Would hear the difference in their speech.
Yeah, I know we're going to come back to this a little bit later because there's news that's breaking on this that we're anticipating. That's
a very soft target, and the question becomes, and we're going to address this later in the show, could it come here? And it's why the debate right now in New York and the relationship between the mayor and the police and our mentality that this country is taking from the administration, an anti-cop mentality, is so wrong at this time.
Well, and have we already potentially seen it come here? I mean, we have the trial beginning with jury selection this week of one of the Tsarnaev brothers. And when you look at the radicalization and the growth within a country that you're describing was happening inside France particularly.
It is so
when you say that because I get angry. And I'm like, where am I going to take that?
Men. They shouldn't do it. Well, should cops profile Muslims? Should cops profile Muslims within a range that...
That's what they're having to do right now. We don't know what these guys are planning, right? They're still looking for these three guys, and could be more. We don't know color on the couch.
There's no.
We happen to have one.
Yeah,
I will tell you.
A time when we need them the most.
I'm a big fan of the Fourth Amendment, though, too. So you got to find that balance.
Get a warrant. If there's a mosque and you've got people in there and you know they're doing bad things, get a warrant.
Search and seizure.
All right. Well, we'll continue to bring you the very latest on the deadly terror attack in Paris.
To what's going on there and what's happening here in New York City. Can you reset with that?
Yeah. So you're taking buildings. They show up anywhere. 12 cop cars would line up. They get out with the full body gear, with the machine guns, ready just to show the bad guys they're there. That's kind of gone away. Maybe it's time to bring it back.
You
it's
live
not
in a
intimidating.
police state, though?
No,
I
don't want to.
Yeah, I live in D.C. where it's really, really difficult.
New York cops,
New York City.
New York cops, I don't feel like they look at me as the enemy. I feel like New York cops, of all the cops in this country, you can go up to them and have a conversation.
You're not a bad guy, though. If I'm a bad guy, I see a heavily armed cop on the corner, I may decide not to do the bad thing I was left to die around the world, whether it's in France or in Australia or wherever it might be.
I thought the setting was also a bit too casual. I mean, because of the situation, the gravity of the situation, I thought that he could have maybe stepped up to the podium and given a more, I don't know, show some passion.
Right. And you know that's all very measured. You know, anytime they do something in the White House, which podium it's going to be from, where it's going to.
But I want to go back to his statements because to me, he's already weighed in on this. In 2012, I think what would be better for him to say would be to stand up and say, the future does not belong to those who slaughter in the name of Mohammed.
Yeah, that's
we
say it
still
from the
haven't heard
podium,
that connection.
say it with some passion, instead of the same mealy-mouthed stuff he gave us after Benghazi, which was, we're going to bring them to justice. Remember that? And how long did it take us to bring them to justice?
We're still in the process of bringing them to
That's
justice.
right.
I mean, it's very long.
Why not also tag on with, why not
Right.
And
boldly
the
say
movie,
it?
The Interview.
We heard that from Josh Earnest today.
But this is a form of censorship.
We're not going to stand. We're not going to be. Our way of life isn't going to be affected by terrorism. No, we're going to fight this.
I mean, the president could have just yielded his time on that topic.
They never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
At least.
Ernest and the president. We will keep you updated on this story here at the Fox News channel, and happening now. We'll pick it up after the break. This is Outnumbered.
Up and up.